Hey, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. I recently made a couple of picture frames for my wife's birthday. This one is out of white oak and this is black walnut. They've got splined edges and I really like the way that they turned out. This particular print is from William Walker Company. He is a YouTuber, so definitely check out his channel. I'll have his information linked below. But he's a photographer as well, and he sold some limited prints a while back, and I bought one of them. Finally got it framed now. But without further ado, let's get into the build. Picking out lumber is key. I chose some pieces that had a bit of visual interest, and then I started milling them up. Here's something that happened though, and it'll probably happen to you at some point. The board had a lot of tension in it and it started to bind. Multiple times on the back of my blade and riving knife it would catch. I've found that the solution is to stop the blade, pull the board back out, and lower the blade to where it is only cutting halfway through the board. Then run it through again with the blade at full height. This usually prevents any binding situations. I've never mentioned it before, but I have some shirts for sale, so if you click the link below, you can help support the channel, and I greatly appreciate that. Next, I cut the angle on all the pieces and then flipped it over to cut the rabbet on all the inside pieces. Then I pulled out my 45-degree miter sled and started cutting the miters. I doubled them up when I could so each of the sides with the same length would be exactly the same. I started gluing them up and just used some painter's tape to secure them. This seemed to work just fine for me, and I did check a few times to ensure that they were square. Then I put them in my spline jig. If you want to see how I made this, take a look at the video by Make Something. I modified one of his jigs. I prepared my spline material and then cut them out on the bandsaw before securing them in the corners. Then I cut off the excess with the bandsaw. One thing to note is I had trouble getting all of the blue tape out of the splines. By leaving it on there, I actually got some of the blue tape down inside where I glued the splines. Don't do this if you can help it. I came back with a flush trim bit to clean up the rest of the waste. I started off with a tri-blend of boiled linseed oil, polyurethane, and mineral spirits in equal parts. This never seemed to set up right in my shop, so I ended up having to kind of sand it back off and then use some lacquer to finish them. So thank you for watching. I really like how these turned out. The splined edges are a nice touch that you can see just as you're passing by them. So if you ever made any picture frames, they're a little bit harder than you might think. Sometimes you run into some issues with the miters and the way they meet up, but it's really rewarding to be able to make something for your own home like this. Let me know down below if you've made any or if you have any suggestions on how I could do it better. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.